Well, I hope everybody had a good, am I on?
Amen.
Yeah, good Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine was good. It went by really fast. Now, I love Christmas, but there's only one thing that was missing. Well, there could be a few things, but the main thing is there's no snow. Now, I love snow, but I also love the warm weather, so I'm very torn. But yeah, I'm not complaining a lot. Just, I love snow. But no, it was really good. But I don't know about you, but this week it really hit me that 2015 is over. It flew by. Like, spoiler alert, this is the last Sunday in 2015. Yeah, see, you're in shock too. Yeah. And many of us, like you can't help but think about the year. See, my year started off amazing. January 5th, my daughter was born, Eliana. And then had some highs, it had some lows, had some ups, had some downs. But throughout the year, God kept bringing me back to Joseph. No, not Joseph and Mary. I'm not about Joseph in Genesis we're going to be talking about. And the reason why he kept bringing me back is I believe we can learn a lot from him. See, when I was in college, we had this thing, prayer and fasting. We're going to be having that in a couple weeks. Prayer and fasting. Battery's dead. Can you hear me? Keep talking. Oh, hey, where should I begin? How was your guys' Christmas? Mine was good. No, but in college we had this thing, prayer and fasting, and we would pray, and, gotta find it. Had to pray, and I believe that God was telling me to do something, that this should be my goal. And, transfer, there? Good? That this should be my goal in life, to do this one thing. And I was so excited. And I went to a small college, Valley Forge. There's only about 800, 900 students. So the speaker, after he got done speaking, I was so moved. I was so excited what God was doing in my life that I ran up to him and said, hey, God, I believe God's calling me to do this. And he looked at me and laughed. He said, I don't think so. And it really got me thinking, am I right? Is God really calling me to do that? To take that step out? That dream that he placed in me? See, in Joseph's life, Joseph had this dream that we already know before this dream that Joseph was Jacob's favorite son because he got this sweet jacket of many colors. And I was going to wear a sweet jacket of many colors, but Goodwill says they don't sell them anymore because the 60s and 70s are over. I'm like, yeah, but they're coming back. So, in about 6 years, it'll be up here. And I was like, so Joseph has this dream, and he pretty much says this, you, brothers and family, are going to bow down to me, and I will be over you. And his brothers laughed. His dad kind of questioned, okay, son, I know you're my favorite, but you're a little woo-hoo. All right, now just calm it down here for a second. But Joseph believed that God was calling him to this. And then we're going to pick up in Genesis 37. We're going to start off there. Starting off in verse 14. It says this, so he said to him, this is Jacob telling to Joseph, go and see if all is well with your brothers and with their flocks. Bring word back to me. See, in this is, Joseph had this dream. His brothers got angry, so they left. And they're with their flocks in the field. Jacob tells Joseph, hey, go check on your brothers. Joseph goes there and they're not there. Someone tells him, oh, they're further away. Theologians say they're about 50 miles away. So Joseph walks another 50 miles away. See, if I was Joseph, I wouldn't have done this, but I would have this thought, and I'm sure many of you would too, is that Dad told me to go check on them here. They're not there. So I can go back home and say they're not there, so they'll get in trouble. Like, that's just the way I think, but this is Joseph, so we're not going to talk about me. But Joseph continued that he didn't find them there, so he went out to find them, which shows that he undertook this journey, not only in obedience to his father, but out of love for his brothers. See, and it says that as he was walking there, his brothers were coming up with this scheme, this plan to kill him. Wait, Pastor, you just say that Joseph traveled further to check on his brothers out of love and obedience? Yes. And his brothers were coming up with this plan to kill him. So we're going to jump a little further in the verse 23 and 24. When Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped him of his robe, his sweet jacket of many colors that he was wearing. They took him and they threw him into a chasm or a well or a pit, which was empty, it had no water in it. So you say, oh, that's great, but you have to understand that his brothers were trying to kill him. His older brother, Reuben, was the only one that stepped out and said, hey, let's not kill him here, all right, let's save him. Which is very significant. Because if you read the story, Reuben stepping out into faith to say, hey, don't kill him, is huge. We said Reuben, he was the oldest, right? And I always thought, oh yeah, he just saved him because he's going to get his birthright. He's the firstborn. That's actually false. Reuben lost his birthright through the choices that he made in past chapters. But that's a different sermon story there. See, God was up to something. Joseph had this dream, and I guarantee it wasn't to be in a pit. When he said, God, you're calling me to do great things, but first, I got to go to a pit. No. See, many of us are like that. Many of us, we want to hear things from God. We want to do great things, but sometimes we just aren't looking. We don't see Him. We don't see God or hear God moving in our lives. I came across this story that I would like to share with you. Let me put it back in order. A young man had been to a Wednesday night Bible study. The pastor had shared about listening and obeying to God. The man couldn't help but wonder, does God still speak to people? After service, he went out with some friends for some coffee and pie, and they discussed the message. Just going to stop there. That just sounds like a great group. Like, I'm not really a pie person, but the fact that they would go and have coffee after service, that's godly right there. It was about 10 o'clock when the young man decided to go home. He sat in his car and he just began to pray, God, if you still speak to people, speak to me. I will listen. I will do my best to obey. As he drove down the main street of the town, he had a strange thought, stop and buy a gallon of milk. He shook his head and said out loud, God, is that you? He didn't get a reply, so he continued to drive towards home. But again, the thought, buy a gallon of milk. The young man thought about Samuel and how he didn't recognize the voice of God. So he said, okay, God, in case that is you, I will buy the milk. In the back of his head, he had this thought of, listen, that's not a hard test of obedience. I could do this, and I could always use more milk. So he stopped and purchased a gallon of milk and started off towards home. As he passed 7th Street, he heard and felt the urge turn down that street. That's crazy, he thought, and he drove past the intersection. Again, he felt that he should turn down 7th Street. At the next intersection, he turned back and headed down 7th. Halfway jokingly, he said out loud, "Okay, God, I will." He drove several blocks, and when suddenly he felt that he should stop, he pulled over to the curb immediately and looked around. It was a semi-commercial area of town. It wasn't the worst, but it wasn't the best. All the businesses were closed. All the houses looked dark, or the people were in bed, or they weren't home. Again, he insisted something. Go. Give the milk to the people in the house across the street. The young man looked at the house. It was dark, and the people were either gone or already asleep. He started to open the door, then sat back in the car. Lord, this is insane. These people are asleep. If I wake them up, they're going to be mad, or they might even kill me. Again, he felt that he should go and give the milk. Finally, he opened the door. Okay, God, if this is you, I will go to the door. I will give the milk. If you want me to look like a crazy person, that's okay. I will be obedient. I guess that will count for something. But if they don't answer the door, I'm gone. That'd be me too. I'm gone. Knock, knock. Okay, they're not there. See you. As he walked across the street, he rang the doorbell. He could hear a noise inside. A man's voice yelled out, "Who is it? What do you want?" I would be gone again. All right. But the door opened. Before the young man could get away, the man standing there in jeans and a t-shirt, he looked like he just got out of bed. He had a strange look on his face and didn't seem too happy that some stranger was staring on his doorstep. "What is it?" he said. The young man thrust out the gallon of milk. "Here, I bought this for you." Then the man took the milk, rushed down the hallway, speaking loudly in Spanish. I'm feeling for the guy right now. I'm getting chills like, oh, what's going to happen? What's he going for? Then from down the hall came a woman carrying the milk toward the kitchen. The man was following her holding a baby. The baby was crying. The man had tears streaming down his face. The man began to speak and half crying. "We are praying. We had some big bills this month and we ran out of money. We didn't have any milk for a baby. I was just praying and asking God to show me how to get some milk." The wife from the kitchen yelled out, "I asked him to send an angel. You are an angel." The young man reached into his wallet and pulled out all the money he had and gave it to him. He turned and walked towards the car with tears streaming down his face. He knew firsthand that God still answered prayers and still spoke to people. See, when Joseph was in this pit, he needed to know that God still was in control. See, when you're down to nothing, God is always up to something. When you feel like you're in a pit, when you feel like there's no way out, Lord, I had no plan for this in my life. I did not plan for this to go. This is not how it's supposed to happen. At those moments, God is up to something. So in this, Joseph is in the pit. His brothers sell him as a slave to Potiphar, or to the merchants, and then they sold him to Potiphar. In verse 39, we're going to jump to 39, verse 2 through 4. The Lord was with Joseph so that he prospered, and he lived in the house of the Egyptian master. When the master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord gave him success in everything he did, Joseph found favor in the eyes of his attendant, Potiphar. Potiphar put him in charge of the household and entrusted him with the care of everything he owned. See, Joseph went from a pit to Potiphar's house. And Potiphar realized that there's something different about this guy. It's evident that God is in control of his life. God has a plan for his life. See, we need to know that. That when you have a relationship with God, when you have a relationship with him and you trust everything in him, even if it's not going according to your plan, because it's not ever going to go according to your plan. It's not the way God works. It would be amazing if it did, though. Make life so much easier. But Potiphar realized that there's something different about this man. There's something different about him. So Joseph found himself out of the pit and favored in God's eyes. And then we all know what happens. Potiphar's wife comes and accuses him of laying or sleeping with her. In Genesis 39, 9 through 20, when his master heard the story, his wife told him, saying, this is how your slave treated me. He burned with anger. Joseph's master took him and put him in prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined. Joseph goes from a pit to a palace, back to a pit. He finds himself in prison for something that he had no control over. And I love what it says in verse 21. The Lord was with him. He showed him kindness and granted him favor in the eyes of the prison warden. See, again, his year is not going according to plan. Joseph found favor in the eyes of the Lord because he stayed true to him. I don't know about if you know this, but Joseph, he was in this crazy up and down hill prison pit for 17 years. That's a long time. Like, I get frustrated when I'm in a trial for a day and I get mad at God. See, this is why I love Joseph. You could look at his life and you could see how diligent, how obedient he is to God. No matter what circumstance that he finds himself in, whatever position he's in, he says God is in control. Love this one story. On December 9th, 1914, Edison Industries was virtually destroyed by a fire. Edison lost $2 million that night, in which his life's work went up in flames. He was only insured for $238,000 because the building was made out of concrete, at that time thought to be fireproof. Edison's son, Charles, was 24. Thomas was 67. The young man ran out frantically trying to find his father. Finally, he came up upon him, standing near the fire, his face with a red glow, his white hair blowing in by the December winds. Charles said, my heart ached for him. He was 67, no longer a young man. And everything was going up in flames. Thomas spotted him and said, Charles, where is your mother? I do not know, Dad, he replied. Find her, bring her here. She will never see anything like this again as long as she lives. The next morning, they walked about the charred embers of all his hopes and dreams. And Edison said this: there is great value in disaster. All our mistakes are burned up. Thank God we can start anew. 3 weeks later, after the fire, his firm developed the first phonograph. But church, I want you to understand this. Through disaster, thank God we can start anew. See, as I was growing up, I grew up in the church, and it kind of went away, it kind of came back, and it went away again, just like a lot of things. But I grew up with the Lord's Prayer, and I never really understood it, and I probably still don't understand it. But the part where it says, "Give us today our daily bread." I always wondered, why would God give us bread? That's just the way I think. But there's a lot of things in the Bible that I don't understand. But what it means is, God, give me enough strength to get through today. Tomorrow is the future. Yesterday is yesterday. I cannot change what I've been through. I cannot change where I've gone through, what the trials that I've been placed in, the pits that I've been in. I cannot change that. So give me the strength for today. But I'm trusting you for tomorrow. Give us today our daily bread. And thank God we can start anew. See, Joseph did not know how he was going to get to the dream that God has given him. And next week we're going to talk about how do we live a life like Joseph? How do we live a life that is pleasing to God, that we could see favor from him? See, Joseph was a man that loved God and would do anything for him. I just wish that I would have that heart, that desire that he had. For I know I cannot change the things that I've gone through, nor do I want to, because it made me who I am today, which is going to carry to my dreams that God has placed on my heart. Joseph didn't let others define his life. He trusted it into God. Now, I know each year you come to the end of the year and you think about what this year was like. But church, we don't have to wait till end of the year for this. We don't have to wait for the look back and say, God, it's not how I think it was going to happen. But I'm trusting you with this. I'm trusting you that you will start anew from right now. You will give me dreams, goals that I do not walk away from. And when I do, I pray that you place people around me that will bring me back on track. Because I will be the first one to say that I've had many goals. And the only reason why I don't achieve those goals, because I get distracted and worried about what other people think. My prayer for all of us is that we have a heart going into the new year that says, no matter what I go through, no matter what happens, God, I'm trusting you. I'm trusting you to have control of every situation. Every victory is yours. I am nothing without you. Let us pray. God, I thank you. Lord, I thank you for this past year. I thank you that you have called each one of us to follow you. Lord, I know that there's people in this room that their year didn't go according to plan. Things might have happened. They might have lost people that were close to them. But Lord, I pray, Lord, that you would give them your love, that they would feel it. That no matter what, Lord, that you are up to something in our life. Lord, I pray that we don't stray from a relationship with you. But when it seems like we're in our pits, Lord, that we are closer to you than ever before. And when we're in our victories, we still have favor in your eyes because we are close, relying on everything that you have given us. Lord, I pray, Lord, you give us our daily bread and nothing more. Give us the strength to see tomorrow. Let us see the blessings around us. Lord, in the dreams and the goals that we set forth for the new year. Lord, give us the diligence to achieve those, to see them out. Lord, to you be the glory. We thank you for that. In your name we pray. Amen.